I don't really know.
No.
I don't remember how we met because I don't think we were in the same class. Jeff and I ended up in the same class. I was there already, and Jeff kind of showed up one day and ended up seated next to me.
Yeah.
Either front, back, or side. I don't know.
So
but there's more to that story as we progress.
Yeah, it probably started there.
The trouble started there, yes.
Yeah, 65 October-ish. And
Okay. Where did you move from?
Rockford, Illinois.
That's what I remember.
But I grew up before that in California.
Okay. I'm going to say that we met on the cross country team, and I met Paul because he became friends with Jeff somehow. So originally, I would say that we were kind of Champ, Jeff, myself, and Paul.
So I was the wannabe, but I became AB later.
AB. We voted him in.
I got voted in. And it wasn't because I had a Ford Falcon for a high school car either, so it wasn't for car's sake. It had to be just fabulous looks and personality.
I was trying to remember. I know where I started in Mrs. Holbrook's class, or in Sturgis class, and it was next to. I think it started. I don't remember if it was next to Paul or next to Steve Holbrook, but I know that I ended up moving forward because it was a problem.
Well, no, never a problem. Just too much visiting.
Somehow she thought, it was her classroom, and she's the one who had so much to say.
Okay, I'll leave that.
I would have to agree with that because that's kind of the detail I remember too. That one of us got slightly boosted. I ultimately ended up having to go into a different class.
So are we saying? Are we saying that in Sturgis class, Paul was there?
Yeah,
I started there, and Jeff came in because he started a couple months into the school year.
October when I got there.
Yeah.
And so you were moved close to Paul. That would happen.
I think we landed.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought you were moved away from.
Yeah, I was moved away from Holbrook, and we were in the back.
And you got closer to Paul, or what?
I believe so. Yeah. Paul was so studious, he liked to be
quiet.
Front of the rooms.
Well, plus I couldn't see during it too, so I tend to leave towards the
we'll move Jeff up next to Paul, who's very studious, and won't be a problem, right?
Yeah, at least we'll stop talking.
Did it work?
No. No, and I have all my report cards from Mom saved, and I can show you evidence of my studiousness taking a dip.
I guess, but the core group kind of evolved because obviously John Warren became part of it at least.
Baptism changed a lot of that too. But since we were out of high school, we had a whole new. Besides the threesome, the core group changed considerably too.
Well, but in high school,
yeah,
it was John Warren eventually, and of course Champ.
Yeah.
But I think Champ moved away as a junior. He was definitely not there as a senior. And John did come in as a junior.
I think so. Yeah. We did have some pretty fun.
Randy, the high school campus, lower campus, covered all the way to Pismo Beach too. So it covered a lot of ground. Our class was not just from Arroyo Grande.
Yeah, and our graduating class was 300 and something.
Something like that. Very large, yeah. And so obviously, what was it called? Lower campus?
Yeah.
Crown Hill, and then
I don't know.
Whatever the bottom one was.
It's called Lower
Campus.
Valley Road.
That's what it was. So that became the main 3 years worth.
I don't know if I ever did it, but there was kind of a row of walnut trees across the street.
Mm-hmm.
People would maybe walk to school through the walnut rows. In high school, I remember at lunch, it was the quad. Right. And we'd have this one spot where we always sat on the grass.
Or the table.
I don't remember the table. I remember sitting on the grass. And People kind of wondered about us. I remember one time when somebody came, sat with us just to see what the heck we were all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't. I remember maybe I didn't bring much of a lunch or have much money to buy anything, but there were times when Jeff would come with a lunch with a bologna sandwich.
My mom, for every year, it seemed like every day of high school, I had a sandwich, 2 pieces of white bread, a little bit of mustard and mayonnaise, a piece of bologna, and a piece of American cheese. And sometimes one of those ingredients might have got left out. And in most days, she also threw in a bag of zingers.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, but I guess whatever people had, we'd share and make sure.
Well, this is what I remember. I didn't know you brought them every day. Maybe there was just some days that you got tired of it. But some days it would be like, I don't want this. And I'd say, I'll take it. So I'd get a bologna sandwich for lunch.
Yeah, I did get tired of it.
That's weird, because I don't think my mom, well, I know my mom wouldn't have packed lunch for us, because after enduring us 3 of us kids, she usually slept in until 10 o'clock in the morning, stay up half the night cleaning up our messes. So to take a lunch to school was probably beyond what I wanted to do. So I remember going to that little snack bar there, because we didn't have a cafeteria, and buying 2 pieces of white bread, cut diagonally, butter inside of it. And that was my lunch, because I liked it. But I think once in a while, though, I might have sprung for it, because I remember bologna sandwiches then too, but I don't remember if they came from Jeff or if it was something I was getting for that little snack door.
Yeah, but then we did have space.
Yeah.
It became our space, and there were people that were trying to figure out, what we were about. Because at least my memory of it is that it was a kind of a unique group. We weren't trying to be cool. We weren't trying to be better than any of the other groups. We were just pretty content in our space, in our world. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
I remember it too.
You got to remember the '60s. It was hippie generation and all this stuff, and we kind of took what we wanted out of it, but there were no drugs or any of the things we didn't like about it. So
Yeah.
we kind of just adapted what we thought was cool.
I had a paisley print shirt, and that's as far as I went.
That's the kind of thing we did.
Yeah.
I do remember the groups for the athletes and the cheerleaders,
And the Aggies.
the Aggies.
The Central Coast, where we all grew up, it was a very rich agricultural area.
Oh, yeah.
So the Aggies were the farm boys and girls.
Boots and trucks.
Yeah. So there was a pretty good. Some of those groups didn't always get along. The Aggies and the Surfers, they had some issues. But ours was pretty happy. No real issues.
I remember this was 9th grade. It was an after-school dance. This was kind of like a kid being a little somehow protesting, I suppose, some way, or just being silly. But he was walking around the dance floor with a $20 bill, tearing pieces from the floor. I went around and gathered them up. I had everything except for one piece, but it was enough to trade it in for a real, better 20, looking 20. And I bought a really nice sweater with it.
You know, a lot of the $20 bill.
Yeah, $20 went a long way. But yeah, I thought we knew each other before cross country, but I don't have years for that. Could have been during cross country.
We might have met someplace, but we definitely had a cross country experience.
Yeah.
You might have. I was thinking of doing some kind of sport with my freshman year or whatever. And you guys might have invited me to come try cross country.
Okay.
So it may have gone something like
Let's. I know this is a diversion, but tell me about cross country. Did you enjoy it?
I ran before I got out here. I ran just sprint distance races.
You were a sprinter.
Yeah, but you guys told me about cross country, so I didn't. Actually, I'd never heard about it.
Is that right? I hadn't either.
Yeah, and so I know that we did stuff connecting at that point. I tried it and did it all wrong. But,
What do you mean by that?
well, Coach Carter, I remember, yeah, he said, well, we have this meet. So, and it wasn't the Morro Baby. It may have been something like Castle Rolls or something. And my, form style, everything was wrong. Because I was trying to run up that big hill like a sprinter.
Like a sprinter.
And that's where I earned the nickname Animal.
Love it.
And I was thinking that was because I was, I must be pretty fast, but I think it was more, it looked like an old animal running up there.
But Coach Carter was concerned that you probably wore out before the 2 miles.
Yeah.
Pace yourself.
So I think it's where some of the connections came. And,
Before we leave cross country, do you remember your first day there?
First date?
Day at cross country. The first day you showed up, were you shocked about what you were doing?
Yeah, I was thinking, who invented this?
Yeah. Because the first day I showed up, I was late. I don't know how late, but that was the day they were going to run 9 miles.
Yeah, out past the
and
fields and up there.
Up on the mesa and back down. And I was shocked because I thought, do people do that?
I know. And if so, why?
And why? But I'll tell you, I don't know if this is true for you. I really learned to enjoy that 9-mile course. That was one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I did too. In fact, I have a grandson that's got a scholarship with cross country and track. But I was surprised. If I remember right, we used to come back after the 9 miles around 56 or 7 minutes or so.
Yeah, that would have been my best time around there.
Yeah, so I was pleased there was some speed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
remember when we came in, the coach would give us salt pills?
Great big yellow one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fell out of favor.
Yeah, big time.
Anyway, I interrupted. I think you're going back to that.
Yeah, so I know that was part because I saw you guys. You were familiar, and I know Paul had the wisdom not to run.
I did cross country.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I was delivering newspapers on a bicycle, 2-speed push wind. And that to me was as close to running I was going to.
You were going up and down hills.
In cross country, there were 3 teams. There was the varsity, these were the fast guys. The junior varsity, not quite so fast, and then the Hamburger. And that was to catch everybody else. I don't think they ever tried out for cross country. Everybody made the team. And you ended up in one of these spots. We were going to Morro Bay. I still remember that one because it was really pretty.
Yeah.
But I had somehow managed to make it up to the JV and ran a good race. They had a good time, maybe one of my better times. And
Before you go any further, I believe what happened, I could be wrong, but I believe what happened is the coach gave me a choice. Do you want to run with JV or do you want to hang back with Hamburgers? And I said, oh, I'll just run Hamburger. But you were apparently already on this JV squad.
okay,
I think. Either that, it gave us both a choice.
yeah, I think it qualified for the JV that race.
But I think I had an option and I decided.
But so I don't remember what position I came in, but it wasn't a placed position. So I was back, and no glory, finished the race and everybody's just happy and you go on. But then the hamburger race, and they
They run, just to be sure, they run separate.
yeah.
The varsity runs, then when they're done, JV runs, and then when they're done, Hamburger runs.
So in comes the first place finisher for the hamburger race, and it's Dave. So regardless of which race you're in, you get some glory. And I'm sure on the way home in the bus, Coach Carter shared the glory with these three people. But
Don't know about that.
yeah, but anyway, I was looking at it kind of like, well, darn, wait a minute, my time was faster than Dave's was,
Yes.
but I got nothing.
Yes.
No, nothing.
If you put your time in the Hamburger squad, you'd have won.
And
That's not the way it works.
not the way it worked. And so
So there was no glory, no trophy. If I remember right, there was no picture.
yeah, no picture. You come in sometime after third.
Whereas I had a picture.
In the yearbook
Yearbook.
forever. 60 years later, it's still in there.
I look back on it and I think, that's great.
That's that one story.
Yeah, but somehow it's managed to stay alive all these years.
Well, that's because I keep it alive.
And now it's on YouTube forever.
Yeah. So I've actually brought that up to my grandsons who.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, where my running did better was with the track team.
Track.
Because that was
Right.
more of a shorter distance
Yeah.
sprinter, but
Do you remember what distance you ran in track?
yeah, in track I was, back then they called it the 100, 200 and 400 and the long jump.
Mm.
So,
So you did those?
yeah.
I remember you could do the 2 mile in track. There was 8 laps around the track. That's just too boring. So they had a 3-lap event called the 1320. That's what I did. Since then, Jeff has got a lot of glory, in my opinion. He has been a runner all his life. And how many half marathons have you run? I think that's what told me.
Well, 6 marathons and maybe 50, 55.
That's what I thought you said. 55. Now to get this in, if we can, for Champ, I went to track practice once, and Champ and I were good buddies, so he just followed me along. Could he have anything else to do after school? And we have these laps to run. It was 440 yards at the time, and you had a certain time to meet, and if you didn't meet at that time, you had to go again or something like that. It was cruel. Anyway, so I'm running around the track, and Champ in his street clothes is running alongside, kind of on the grass, but right on the perimeter. Just piece of cake. He wasn't sweating at all. No. And anyway, the track coach, Coach Carter, noticed that, and he had a little chat with Champ, and he was on the track team and immediately on the varsity squad.
Yeah, tell me if I'm remembering this right or if it's just grown over the years, but it seems like, so your dad, one of the things he did is he taught driver's training. Yeah. And he would get pretty comfortable.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Oh, no, in a good way. He would, he'd have a newspaper. He was,
Oh, really?
yeah, he was an avid reader, I think. And so, there'd be two drivers, students in the back seat, and one in the front practicing, and then the driver's training instructor.
Mhm.
And he'd spread that newspaper wide open, and he'd be, while we're driving, while he's teaching the class,
Mhm.
and we'd, he'd be reading the newspaper, and then he'd say, turn here, and he'd read, and he'd say, turn there, do this, but he was very comfortable with most of his drivers.
So you're saying you took driver training?
From, yeah, he and I think it was he and the wrestling coach, who was Gary.
Gary Higley?
Yeah.
Was it? So Gary Higley at some point took a job as a principal at a school in Idaho Falls, Bondo'ed High School. And my dad was trying different things, sometimes teaching, sometimes trying other things. And eventually he got a job at Bondo'ed also through the influence of Gary Higley. Taught him. That's kind of how my dad ended up in Idaho Falls. And that's how my wife Kathy ended up in Idaho Falls, because he said, hey, there's some teaching jobs here. So we moved there and she took a teaching job. It's great.
Oh, really? So that's how that migration took.
Yeah. Yeah. It came about because, we'd had Kelly in 77, January 77. And it's like, yeah, we need to make a decision. We probably don't want to raise our kids here, but it's been fun. But so we started wondering what to do, and that came about. So, okay, took the opportunity.
Let's circle back to driver training.
Yeah.
Did you have a neighbor, Japanese American? He was a teacher in Arroyo Grande. He was also a driver education instructor. Do you remember Tiara, or something T? Do you recall such? He was my instructor, and I had in my car, oh, by the way, the pink Galaxy. There was also, for driver training, there were two cars. There was Galaxy, light blue, which if you were unlucky, you got the Galaxy. Or if you were fortunate like I did, you got the 67 Mustang. And this Mr. whatever his name is was the instructor. I had John Holbrook as one of my co-driver. John was the world's worst driver in the world then. And the instructor was just panicky every time he got behind the wheel. And I remember one time when I was driving, Mr. What's his name told me to stop off at the strawberry stand on Grand Avenue. I wanted to get a flat of strawberries. So he did. And he puts them in the trunk of the car and says, okay, take me home. And I distinctly remember going over, Bruce Studi lived across the street from me, sort of. And I thought this other teacher also lived on that same street. Maybe it just wasn't directly in front of you. But I'm tootling along. I think I was doing pretty good. And that's my house there on the right. So just stop right here. Okay, so I pull in, park to the curb, and he said, that's okay. You can do that. That's okay. And I'm 3 feet from the curb. He said, no, that's okay. Just stop right here. So I stopped 3 feet from the curb out. He unloaded the strawberries, came back and says, I got to take some points off for your parking. but you said it was okay. Well, you have to be within 12 inches or whatever it was.
18. Brilliant.
Yeah, 18, 12, but not 36 inches.
No.
So do you remember, Jeff, driving, or you basically inherited, I assume, your grandmother's pink Ford Galaxy?
That was, I was so embarrassed.
Pink.
It was just a plain ugly car. And it was pink.
59 Ford Galaxy in soft pink. Your favorite color.
And this was Was this before the Renault?
No, the Renault, at the Renault, and then that was followed by a Rambler American
Convertible.
convertible, yeah.
Yeah.
Black with bright red interior. And then I believe I ended up with that car.
Pinkmobile.
Yeah.
The Galaxy.
Got tired. Had a goal to get rid of it as fast as possible. So that may be where Prague.
Yeah.
Prague
Prague.
was a 1995 red, just Volkswagen Beetle. 66,
69.
69. That's right. And it wasn't like I had a lot of money, but it was just that you could buy used Volkswagen Beetles at near year's end or from rental cars, and they were cheap, $1,500 cash.
Yeah.
For a VW Bug that had maybe 15,000 miles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I painted that car instead of red, a color of green, and then we nicknamed the car Frog. And, it became part of our group then too.
Yeah. So what happened to the Rambler? Did you just blow it up, or?
You know, my brother might have used it for a little bit. Got rid of it as soon as he could.
I'm surprised you transitioned from a convertible to a grandma.
Yeah.
Pinkmobile.
And Paul, you had a lot of cars through high school, right?
But yeah, I did. If you count Kentos alone, I think I counted 11 over the years. I'd buy it, fix it up a little bit, drive it a little bit, and then sell it or something. But yeah, 3 Mustangs, like 11 Pintos, Falcon wagon. That was a surfmobile. Well, ski mobile more than surf. Well, back then you had to drive in traffic. They did not take us on the freeway. This was just, the office in San Luis was right off the freeway.
I went to Santa Maria for some reason.
Did you? Well, so we were only in city traffic for most of us that were driving, and I passed. And I remember going home, and the next day, Dad let me use the truck for some reason, and I remember being at a stop sign off of Grand Avenue, and it wasn't like it is now, I'm sure, but there was still cross traffic. But I saw an opening, and I put that in first gear, and I floored it, and I burned rubber all the way across Grand Avenue. It was 1 block from Dad's TV shop, and I was so afraid he was gonna figure out what was going on.
What car did you drive first?
So the first car I bought for $95 was about a 61 Renault Dauphine.
I remember that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that at first. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's right.
You
gotta see
It was
go
worth
online.
$95, wasn't it?
You gotta go online to see this car because
Yeah.
they were interestingly, amazingly weird.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was black. It had a rear engine like a Volkswagen.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
We would sometimes have tug of wars in the parking lot, which involved me trying to drive off while the others just lifted the back of the car.
And it wasn't that hard to do. The only thing was it was a featherweight. It probably weighed 1,000 pounds, maybe if you're lucky. Empty.
It was
about that.
dark black, well, as dark black as an old car could get, and had people before had put black, or they put hippie flowers on the car.
There it is.
That's
There it is.
Engines in the back, and they even had a radiator in the back. It wasn't air cooled.
One of our friends at the school.
Oh, the Camaro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
graduation car.
he liked to park next to me, just to kind of, I suppose, remind me that cars could go fast. But I graduated from that to I think it was a 65 Rambler convertible.
I don't think it was that new. I think it was a little older. The the convertible?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was older. Because in 65 is like what the missionaries were driving.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot newer and nicer.
Yeah. Anyway, it was black, had black, everything on the outside was black and the inside was a red interior.
But it's a convertible, though. So
Yeah.
I mean, that was a notch up from Renault.
I always called it a Renault, but
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Whatever it is. But do you remember tanking with that thing?
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty good off-road.
It was, I think it was just a heavy car, but he could take that places that maybe should have been Jeep trail.
Yeah.
And I think on the beach too.
Out around Lopez Lake.
Yeah. Amazing traction for an old liter car like that.
Yeah. I do remember when I had first got it, and it had the convertible. And I thought this was pretty cool. And so for some reason, going through Santa Maria. I don't remember who was with me, but I accidentally ran a red light. And I was laughing about it so much, I ran the next red light. So there were two. I don't think there was a third one.
I also remember going in the hills somewhere near Arroyo Grande, and it's fun, especially when you're a 15-year-old, to drive a car around the corners and around the hills. Came around this one hill, and I was having a little too much fun, I guess, and I kind of hugged the hill a little. I straightened out the curve a little. And without really thinking, because that was a stupid thing to do. Right? Well, the driver training instructors told me, said, think about what could have happened if another car was coming.
Yeah.
And, I remember that little lesson.
Yeah. Those drivers training instructors back then, they were a special breed.
Yeah. I don't know why I remember this. Do you remember renting motorcycles?
Yeah. First,
crazy.
On the 90s.
Yeah.
And they go down.
Either you or I dumped one.
I'm sure. In fact, I've told my grandkids who want to buy motorcycles about that. But they were awful fun. Shoot, a Trail 90 today or back then would have been smaller than most of these e-bikes today.
We thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
So where would you guys ride these?
Just around the roads around.
Yeah.
There were some hilly areas around there that were kind of fun.
Or some pretty tame trails along the creek and stuff like that.
One of us, I remember, on the actual road, there was some gravel or loose gravel on the street. I remember down in the more trafficy area of Santa Maria at a red green light. He wanted me to turn left. Well, there was traffic and I couldn't turn left. I don't think anybody had any protected left turn lights in those days. So I waited and waited, and pretty soon it was turning red. I was somewhat in the intersection. I had no idea what to do.
Tough decisions as a young driver.
What did you drive to school?
I drove that VW Bug.
You got the Bug?
Yeah, I mean, I just had family car.
Well, you had the wagon.
You had the wagon.
I got the van for a while.
Falcon Station.
Yeah, that was my second car. My first car was a Pontiac Tempest station wagon, which was basically a Corvair wagon. But my sister is a year older than me. Her boyfriend bought a Pontiac Tempest wagon. We went out to the country outside of Grover City. She was behind the wheel and went around the corner, and there were narrow roads then, and another car was coming at the same time, and so she panicked and whipped the steering wheel and went off the road, but rolled the car. Dad bought the station wagon, the wreck, from John. And then I bought it for $35 with paper route money. And I got out my belt sander I had and Bondo. I don't know how many gallons of Bondo until it sort of resembled the car that it used to be.
I remember one time going up to Mount Abel. Yeah, Mount Abel. It was basically the one sort of close ski resort, and we were trying to sleep that night. Yeah, we got just blanket after blanket after blanket, so that when you looked in the back, there wasn't even a bump.
No, we could get in and nobody knew we were in there. My first car, the Tempest, though, one day coming home from school, the town drunk was barreling down the road behind me and attempted to go around me on Grand Avenue, getting ready to turn to David's house. There was a lamb ready for the slaughter. He tried to go around me, but he was going too fast and sent the car sailing forward. The rear window of the tailgate popped out, hit the pavement, but the car got totaled. And so that was the end of the Tempest.
When did you get a Volkswagen Bug?
I got a Volkswagen Bug after graduated from high school.
Did you? Okay.
This would have been in late '69. I got a '69 Bug for $1,500.
They were like 2,000 new, so
Yeah.
they were cheap.
Driving down Grand Avenue in my '66 VW, wind from the sunroof blowing through my hair, flying my kite in the ocean air. If you're grooving for shenanigans, we're going to the Madonna Inn. 5 o'clock Sparrow's gonna play till 10. Just beware the refrigerator man. Shenanigans! Arroyo Grande, California. Stop on by if you're passing by. And if you wanna know where it's at, it's anywhere that I'm at. I ain't no hippie, but I do drive a frog. I'll be bombing around with my friends Dave and Paul. Gone are the cars, covered in sand, but we'll be riding those waves until the end. Arroyo Grande, California. Stop on by if you're passing by. And if you wanna know where it's at, it's anywhere that I'm at. Arroyo Grande, California. Stop on by if you're passing by. And if you wanna know where we're at, we'll be riding those waves until the end.
One other one. This one also was written a long time ago, but oops.
That's because I was 7.
That's right. I mean, if you were 70, these are.
Don't be afraid to say you love me. You know it's gonna happen pretty soon. I can see it in your eyes. Why can't you realize that I will always be in love with you? Oh, I remember the first time that I saw you. You were standing there and you looked so fine. All of 17, well, it seemed just like a dream, and I was hoping you could be mine. Don't I know you? Could we have met before? Well, anywhere, I don't know, but I know this much for sure. You're the girl I've been dreaming of, the girl that I long to love, and I will always be in love with you. So if you tell me that you love me, together we can reach the farthest star, can ride upon our dreams into eternity, and I will always be in love with you. Don't I know you? Could we have met before? Well, anywhere, I don't know, but I know this much for sure. You're the girl I've been dreaming of, the girl that I long to love, and I will always be in love with you. Yes, I will always be. Oh, I will always be. I will always be in love with you. Well, I will always be in love with you. Written years ago in our early marriage. Okay, so when I look into your eyes, I can see forever, and it's really no surprise that I need you near. See you smile up at me, I get a funny feeling, kind of feeling that you know's telling me you want to be mine. You know I'm gonna love you, yes I'm gonna love you. You know I'm gonna love you a long, long time. I stop and think about you. A tear of joy comes to my eyes. You even more as each moment passes by. We'll walk along the water, we'll take an evening ride. I know that I will always be by your side. You know I'm gonna love you, yes I'm gonna love you. You know I'm gonna love you a long, long time. Yes, you know I'm gonna love you. Yes, I'm gonna love you. You know I'm gonna love you
Okay, one more time.
It's just that's all I've done. I need to finish.
I think that's good enough to just repeat that a few times and you're good.
I've been a cowboy all my life. I've got cowboy kids and a cowboy wife. I've got a cowboy hat from the state of Tennessee. There ain't no one more a cowboy than me.
Where is this mysterious cowboy hat?
I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. And when it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. Well, I guess you might say, what can make me feel this way? My girl, talking about my girl. I've got so much honey that the bees envy me. I got a sweeter song, girl, with the birds and the trees. Well, I guess you might say, what can make me feel this way? My girl, I'm talking about my girl. Well, I don't need no money, nor riches or fame. I got all the riches, babe, that one man can claim. Well, I guess you might say, what can make me feel this way? My girl, well, I'm talking about my girl. I'm talking about you, girl. Yes, I'm talking about my girl.
That was awesome. I'll say it.
Only a moment and life has begun. Few other moments could be like this one. From out of heaven to us here. Once as a brother and now as a son. I'll help and guide you all that I can. You're a monument to this plains and
the sun shines down upon Miriam. The wilderness we now leave behind. As you gaze upon the waters Miriam, Lord, we thank for that which we find. And the ship we build upon the Lord's command, to sail the sea unto the promised land. The river very richly blessed upon our own righteousness and our obedience to His command. Upon this land, His kingdom we will build. That's not right. And promises will all be fulfilled. Something like that. And from these hallowed shores, the truth will go once more unto every distant